You will never be big on the internet.
What's the internet?
The interwebs.
Oh, the
The
interweb.
interwebs. Jeez, I thought you knew everything. All right, it's telling them we're not in, but I think we are. Are we in? We are in. All right. Let's record this because you never know. Somebody might want to listen to it at some point in time.
I'm sorry, I don't consent to being recorded.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't ask you. You thought you had a choice? Really? This is what you thought? All right, let's see if this thing goes live. It does go live, and we are on live. And that's really cool because today is Whiskey Wednesday. The natives are restless. This is going to be a good one. All right, I'm very excited about this Whiskey Wednesday because I got two really good friends up here that are going to lead you through some fantastic whiskeys. Some you can't even get yet. Thank you, Martinetti. We can't even get, but you're going to get to try it. You're going to be like really the first group in Massachusetts to try your stuff,
100%.
which is really cool. And you guys all remember Adam, right? Who's been to Lost Lantern. We're gonna get Nora up here at sooner or later. Bring the baby. It'll be fine. She'll be teething soon, and you can use some whiskey and stuff.
And he's 4 months old.
He's 4 months old.
He's very loud.
Yeah, he's 4 months old. But when they start teething, that's what my grandmother did to me. Look where I am today, um, with you. All right, so we're gonna do some really cool. We're gonna do some really cool stuff today. I warn you now that you have before we even get started. You do have three whiskeys that are all hazmat. All right, I could not take these on the plane even if I wanted to. Proof. I think that's the designation. Yeah. That's the proof. You cannot take these on a plane. Proof. So we are going to do that, but so you're going to want to have some water handy. It doesn't mean you're weak if you use water. I just want you to taste some of the things that are in these whiskeys, which you're not going to do. It's a 70 something percent, right, boys?
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay. So
it's rational to use water.
It is rational. All right. I don't know what this thing's up there. I'm going to get rid of that. All right. All right. But before we get to the Lost Lantern, and we're going to have Adam tell us like again what's Lost Lantern sort of all about. We have the new boy on the block down the end there. This is Harold Joyce. What is your title at the distillery?
Co-founder.
Co-founder. All right. Co-founder, Lord Chief Commander.
Ron Zier, and then we have a whole distillery team at Idaho Mercantile Distillers. Say what's up to everybody out in Shelley, Idaho.
From Idaho. Funny fact about Idaho.
Here it comes.
No. This is like was it William? It was. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. George Will. Yeah, actually put forth the name Idaho to Congress, telling them that it was a Shoshone word for gem of the mountain or mountain gem.
The gem state.
Well, it is the gem state now, but guess what? It's a totally made up word. It does not mean that. There's no Shoshone word for that.
Sometimes you got to lie to prove
so that, yeah, I guess so. So no, I wasn't going to do the other joke. I figured you.
I won't do it.
Okay,
but it's not Iowa. It is Idaho.
Yeah.
Ryan had a question. He wanted to know how many people here have been to Idaho.
That's more.
Like you had to go.
Way. He's been there.
He's been there
with me.
I have not been there yet.
You have to come.
I was waiting for my invitation. Oh, good.
Come fly fishing with us.
All right. I'm a terrible fly fisherman. I'm just going to get tangled and drowned.
I need somebody worse than me.
Okay, well, that's good. I could get, you know what? I think I'm just the guy for that job. There we go. All right. So first, we're going to talk about Days Defile. All right. First of all, let's explain the name because I think people like, what do you mean?
So Days it is Defile. A real place.
Yes.
A defile, the area between two mountains, the valley, a defile. Day is a reference to John Day, who's mentioned in Washington Irving's Astoria about he was a fur trapper went from the Missouri all the way to Astoria, Oregon. But after a really hard scrabble life, decided to spend his last moments along the Lost River Range in this area that it's where we get our water. It's now called Lost River Range, but it used to be referred to as Days Defile. And it, when you all come out there, there's a whole bunch of peaks, some reaching over 12,000 feet. It's where a lot of the water for the Snake River Aquifer comes from. Every season, the snow caps, they melt and they take a journey that goes subterranean, called the Lost River, because there are all these porous basalt volcanic
Yeah.
soil that the rivers just disappear underground, and they'll exit over 100 miles to the west. And that whole process takes about 4 to 5 years, which gives us an incredibly pure water source.
Is it stacked of minerals too, or by going through the volcanic, does it take away or does it add? Like, or does it go through
It
other
adds,
things?
I mean, it creates a lot of the conditioning that you would be familiar with in Kentucky.
Okay, that's really cool.
Not the same, but familiar.
After you're done, you can come up here and like we do this today. You got to come up. This is so weird. You got to feel the label because it's tactile. It's a tactile label, and I do like it.
There's a slogan that drives everything internally for us as a brand, and it really is why we're out there in southeastern Idaho. And it's Days Defile is a spirit revealed to those who seek. And for me, my favorite thing to do is to get about 45 minutes to an hour from the distillery, go up into the mountains, and just kick rocks. Because you find things out there,
Right.
you know.
Yourself sometimes.
Usually that's
Yeah,
it.
that's
You get a lot of answers, man.
There you go.
You get unstuck.
I do really like the bottle. I love the sort of ridged bottom on this thing, and the label is really cool. And you can see like like a skeleton of a snake in the label. And there's a lot of sort of neat things to look at.
You like Easter eggs. So there's an Easter egg. There's an Easter egg in there that you haven't even seen yet. If you take a magnifying glass, you can read a story that goes down the spine of the snake.
All right, then I will do that at some other date where I can actually put like some light so I can see that.
But the liquid is what's most important.
Exactly.
It is actually the first true Idaho straight bourbon. So it's the first straight bourbon offered by the state. It kind of shows what the new American West distilling scene is doing and what the voice of Idaho. There are many distilleries there, and we just want to do something that showcases the terroir, the natural resources, and do something that's iconically different from Kentucky or Tennessee. Or, I mean, we can't accomplish what they do there. The climate is too different. We're in a high elevation desert, diurnal climate, interacts with wood in a very different way.
What do you gain alcohol, lose water?
No, you lose water, gain alcohol.
So
it can go out of control.
Yeah, very
It's so
quickly.
dry.
Yeah.
Once a week, we actually pull the entire bottling line off, and they become gardeners. They take Snake River water and they water our barrels to arrest the evaporation.
Really?
And you were born in the Idaho mountains, and this is your first time ever leaving, right?
No, I'm a Brooklyn kid.
Yes.
But we started.
It's sort of the same thing, though, isn't it?
I mean, there's an anonymity of being in the city and being invisible, and I get the same feeling when I'm out there. There's a wonderful anonymity that I can jump in the river or jump out of it whenever I want, and more literally in Idaho, instead of psychologically getting away from people. But no, we started distilling out there over 20 years ago. Actually, early on, that was how Ryan and I first met.
We were just trying to figure this out. Harold and I have known each other for like 19 years.
Yeah.
So
we started with a vodka that has become a household name out in Idaho. And Ryan was one of the first supporters on the East Coast and gave us so much love and helped build us a really nice section of that shelf that still sits up there today. And in order to supplement some of the lack of revenue for a small little not venture capital business, we imported things from overseas. So our little group, we introduced the United States to Compass Box, whiskey, my inspiration for even wanting to be in the whiskey world came from Jim McEwen. We imported and introduced the United States to Port Charlotte, Octomore, Renegade Rum, and until they were bought by Remy. But there was definitely, this has been a long time coming.
Yeah, we've traveled together to Scotland.
We have.
Yeah. Well,
I have thanks to you. I was able to ask David Stewart for permission to jump into the malted barley waist high during a dinner that we had on the malting floors. And I have a picture of it.
and we have a picture of him and Randall making malt angels,
Yes.
the barley. So
You never invited me to Scotland with you.
I didn't know you then, but I do now. So let's go to Scotland.
All right.
By the way, Randall, before we could afford fancy hotels, which we still can't afford, but when we would come to work Massachusetts, we had the choice of tipping bartenders well or getting a hotel. And thanks to Randall, I was able to stay in the infirmary dorms of his previous employment.
At
We don't have to say
Berkeley.
that. We don't.
Yeah,
have
we
to
can say it. I can say it. They don't. They can't do anything now. It's like I think the statute of limitations have run out. So, but yes, but we've traveled together. We've done a lot of things together, and I'm really happy that you're on this next leg of your trip, and that we're doing Days Defile. Now, just tell us, like, where's the corn coming from? How old is this? What we're going to taste today? What's the ABV?
Curiously, this product from grain until bottling does not leave the state of Idaho. So corn, you're coming from places like Buell in Idaho. We do have corn. Malted barley. If you look around our distillery, it's along the Yellowstone Highway. There are tons of international malting houses. So there's unlimited access to malted barley. And then the flavor grain is something extremely unique to the bourbon world. We are one of the test markets for a hybrid grain called triticale. Triticale is a hybrid between wheat and rye, and it has what approaches the wheat, the carbohydrate content of wheat, but it has the hardiness and weather resistance of rye, which out in eastern Idaho is beneficial because it gets really cold and it gets really windy. So this crop has done really well for the farmers out there, and we chose to use it as a flavor grain because it complements some of the things we can't do in bourbon in a high elevation desert, which is, if we were using wheat as the flavor grain, it would never get all the desired results that you would get from a warmer, more humid climate. So you're not going to get the caramels and the sweetness and the sugars from a deeper wood penetration. So what we did was try to lead with something that would add spice to it.
What's the percentage of triticale?
60% corn, 30% triticale, 10% 6-row malted barley.
Oh, barley. All right. So something a little bit different tonight.
So it'll drink like if you guys are fans of high rye bourbons, that's how it'll drink.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, percentage.
Percentage? 60 corn.
60, 30, 10.
Yes.
No. Just the first.
Just the first one, just the main brand.
Well, actually, no.
These
The
are,
mash.
these are
Well, those,
all
yeah, but the other one's more, you have a triticale
Yes.
Yeah.
that's more
Triticale whiskey.
triticale whiskey, which
And the proof is a direct result of Rhine because we had limited inventory. We've only got about 250 barrels aging that are anywhere from new make all the way up to 10 years old. We started this process. We started laying down futures a long time ago with this destination in mind. But the first person I ever asked their opinion on it was you. And,
yeah, a big mistake, but yes.
you know. No,
Well, we were talking about it. We're just like, where should we be? And he brought me down some stuff, and I said, listen, I think, and he had his idea of where. You want to tell the story?
no, I'm ashamed of it. So I won't
No.
say that.
Well, now
But,
you
you know,
really have to.
No, now you really have to tell the story. You just walked into that one.
One of our limitations, one of my favorite stories from Jimmy McEwen was really listening to how Brook Lottie came about with all their wood finishes and everything that is revered today as like this cool nuance on a liquid came from some type of limitation, like some kind of mess that they encountered.
Why did you do it that way? Well, we didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, we just
Like this was
The-
what we had.
the
This is what we
distillery
had
was
to work with.
pillaged.
Right.
in
This
the
is what-
90s, we had everybody bought all of the whiskey from this age, so we couldn't release a consistent 10-year-old. So we also couldn't afford the port barrels because everybody was buying those. So, but nobody wanted Premier Cru, so we went and bought Chateau Yquem, cheaper than the port barrel, and then we thought that was a really great idea to finish
And
it.
this is all how
That's
like
amazing.
This is how Bruichladdich ended up with a ton of different styles too, by the way.
Yeah, because
and
they
different,
could
like-
not consistently release the 10-year-old.
Right.
And it wasn't until we went together that 10-year-old was
Released.
released. That was 10 years from the point that they bought the distillery.
That's right. Absolutely.
So, with that in mind, you have to come up with clever solutions. So for us to consistently release 2,000 cases a year as we build up our inventory, we couldn't really pass a certain proof point. Like we could never release a brand that was available for all of Idaho at a hazmat. So I needed to come up with a proof point.
Mhm.
I thought do something clever like 43% alcohol because it's the 43rd state with Idaho. And am I allowed to curse?
Sure.
Ryan said, never fucking say that ever again. And we went through a couple of bottlings that we had and kind of came up with a happy medium on what our resources could maintain year to year, and kind of achieve where we thought the consumer was and what we liked.
And I said, don't go below 90.
Yes. And we're at 90.
And we're at 90.
So for anybody writing notes, it's
You're at 90.
85%.
It's sort of like we got to a standard, and that in itself is I think that's become sort of a standard out there, and it is because the way we all drink and stuff like that. We're gonna do some hazmats tonight, which is great. I love it. We're gonna talk about that in a minute, but where most people end up drinking is somewhere like even stuff that's over. I usually end up drinking stuff that's way over. I usually end up like 100, 110. I usually end up somewhere in there, but 90 is like sort of like that's really good ABV, a proof point.
And this doesn't stretch our barrels too far. The age, we don't put
Which
an
is
age.
why you're only getting it now.
Yes.
I'm the cause of that. Now they can now support Massachusetts, but we had to wait a little longer because I wanted 90 proof.
And we only have a
Okay. Well, that's okay.
350 gallon for
That's right.
Vendome. So it's not like we're going to be.
Did you
mass
guys try it,
producing stuff.
or did you guys move on from? You they already drank it probably. What do you think?
So the average age that you're drinking right now, yes, it's an Idaho straight bourbon, but to put an age statement on it would do a great disservice to some of the liquid that's there. As I said, we've been laying down futures for 10 years now. So the average age in this bottling is probably around 7 years. And in the first 3-4 years of these barrelings, we were extremely nervous. We were doing a 4-char. Barrel proof entry was about 120 proof. I think that's what yours are, right? That's 120. And then what we were seeing in the early stages was way too many tannins, way too much leather. But when it got past that 4, 5, and 6 year mark, that's when we started having something that we were like, yeah, that is it. And that's actually when we started showing you some of that stuff that was in the age range that we were like, man, this is.
I got to
something
tell you,
that we
because
can
that's usually not the problem that people who release in the 3-4 year range have. It's not tannins, it's not tannic, it's grain.
Mhm.
It's get that, you've seen it. It's that graininess.
Yeah.
So you're past that, but then all of a sudden you get, again, it's adaptation. I now I have another problem. My other problem is now is these things are already showing, they're showing a little bit harder than you normally would think of them being.
And that's when to arrest it, we looked at people like, it was just a chance visit that I had. I was in Denver. I went to Stranahan's.
Mhm.
Stranahan's has this whole irrigation system inside their rick houses because it's also Mile High City. It's very dry. So to combat that, they have much more complicated irrigation system that mists everything in the rick house. And I was like, that's a great idea. We've got great water. Our barrels aren't too far from our ROI system, so we can go there and irrigate all of them pretty easily every week.
So you have something a little bit different in front of you. I do like the fact that like a lot of these type of things is adaptation. Like how are we going to make bourbon here? You know, and we start talking about this as like bourbon can be made anywhere in the United States. But how do you go about that? Because unlike other places, like even like Scotland, who has a pretty consistent climate across the entire country, the United States isn't quite like that.
No, and we've
And you
got
have to adapt.
Yeah.
And you've seen it, Adam, like 1,000 different times. Like,
Yeah, Texas alone is 9 times bigger than Scotland.
That's right,
Idaho's
that's right.
probably 5.
yeah,
And people just don't necessarily know how their whiskey is going to turn out when they start if it's a place that no one has ever made bourbon before. So I'm sure the way you make your new make now is probably different than it was
totally
10 years ago, because now you know what it looks like at a 7-year-old age statement and how it evolves over time. But there's no 200-year history like there is in Kentucky that you can look to where you knew that in advance. You have to
Right.
figure it out and muddle along as you go and learn and make changes.
And for the sake of revenue, we don't want to wait 7 years for the next time that we start getting to the places where we want to go. So all of the changes we're making are to achieve a desired result in a more reasonable amount of time. So like now we purchase 2 char barrels, and then the proof is going in a little bit lower. So although the liquid, the cost of goods is a little bit more expensive, it's getting us where we want to be and combating with that dry environment. And then for doing specialty finishes, it's really fun because we just look around and see what other people are doing around us that we like, and we see some kind of cyclical kind of process where they're at one end of their production process and we find that desirable and we can add that to ours. So like we have friends that are doing a stout out of a stout.
Yeah,
A stout
stout
out-
finish
Hey,
with
what are you?
stout.
What are you Canadian now? Ooh, to boot.
Just my wife.
Just
Um, we're Lost Grove Brewing. They're doing a stout. They needed barrels, and we're having problems getting access to ones that are affordable. And I said, listen, you can have the ones that we just bottled for the state, which is some of that bottle. And you take it, you age your stout in it, and then just promise me that you will give me back Lost Grove Stout, wet barrels, and then we can blend some of the bourbons that we have that don't neatly fit into the flavor profile that we're trying to do for this bottle. And then we'll release that to the state.
it's the farmer's way. It's like nothing goes to waste.
Nope.
Figure it out.
Why
Right.
do you, sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Why do you think this was the first bourbon in Idaho? Because there have been there are a ton of Colorado bourbons. There are a couple in Montana, but like Wyoming and High West and Utah have been going for almost 15, 20 years now.
Yeah, exactly.
Why did it take so much longer in Idaho, even though I think has more people than Montana, certainly more people than Wyoming?
I think the state has a lot of restrictive features to it where it's not very easy to start a distilled product. We don't have any tasting rooms or anything like that. We have a control state, so we sell to the state and then it goes out to all of the stores overnight. Not overnight, but when you get a state listing, it goes into the stores overnight.
It's state run. It takes at least a week.
Yeah, that's true. And it's Idaho. It is big. I don't know other reasons why that would be, but if, corn is not a regular agricultural resource that you would associate with Idaho, but it is there. So some of the other outfits like Warfield, they have a very specific vision of what they're trying to showcase there. And I think you've bought stuff from them before.
And they're going more for a single malt though.
Yeah, they're all single malt.
All single malt. Yeah,
and,
American single
and
malt.
gin.
Which is again, it's the same thing. It's a really growing category that, you're going to see a lot of people go for. And, and by the way, it's a lot harder to fight against, the big machine of, Indiana and Kentucky when you're going for bourbon. And you're adding a different even element into the whole mix by using a different grain in there too.
That no one knows what it is
Yeah,
or
no
how
one-
to pronounce
Yeah.
it.
No, which I like discovery through education because that's how I think you taught me that, just seeing, from Whiskey a Go-Go, and the more you talk to people about what was peculiar about your whiskey was the more people became very specific fans for that. And we would see it with like heavily peated stuff. And
Right.
it was like, man, the more heavily peated and weird it was, like the more you had a dedicated fan base. So, you know, we didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. And it was impossible to do
Yeah,
what,
but I think at the end of the day, and Adam and I were talking about this earlier, is like this is a very well balanced whiskey. And you know, even though you were going for like, you know, you're shooting like outside the box, you ended up with something that people will come back to because it is balanced.
But
You
it
get
tastes
other
different.
flavors. Yeah, you get other flavors in there, but it's still balanced. That at the end of the day, it's going to be balanced. And I think you've accomplished that with this expression.
thank you.
And what I really like about it is that, and it's something we talk about at Lost Lantern a lot, is that this is a really good bourbon that does not taste like a Kentucky bourbon. And
Right.
if you wanted a great bourbon that tastes like a Kentucky bourbon, you can just go buy one upstairs for
Yeah.
$18 probably, or
Yeah.
30. And but no one has ever made an Idaho bourbon before, and it has a different flavor profile than you would get from that other part of the country. And
Correct.
that's what's to me is so exciting, that bourbon is now made in all these new places where it never was before, is that we can push back on the idea that bourbon has a narrow range of flavors. That actually is
no,
much wider than
it is
people would
very-
have thought it is.
right.
It's just that we haven't explored a lot of it until the last 10, 15
Well,
years.
you're fighting tradition.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're really fighting. I mean, you're fighting tradition because you have to, because that's not the way it can be made where you are. So there's an economy problem that needs to be solved, and you have to solve that problem because of where you're making it. And that's where you start getting these other things. Now, I don't think tomorrow Kentucky's going to go, you know, what is it, Treasure Holly? Yeah, maybe we should do that now. I don't think that's going to happen.
It
Because
would be a Buffalo Trace experimental
It might be.
37.5.
It might be.
Yeah.
It'd be an experiment, right? What did you guys think, though? Did you like it? Different, but a good different, right?
And we're so happy to be here and to be bringing something that we've made in, you know, a pretty remote part of Idaho. But the reason that we did it wasn't so that it could be showcased here. You know, it was really to, when you go into a really great selection of whiskey at a bar and you see something that's made nearby, a lot of times it doesn't look like it belongs. It looks like a novelty item. It
Mhm.
tastes like a novelty item. It's maybe not well executed. And, you know, we wanted to make something that if we put it up on the back bar next to Old Forester or any of the big multinationals, that it didn't look out of place in the way that it was positioned, but it also looked like it could only come from one place. And that really, if you wanted it, if it was a spirit revealed to those who seek, you had to go to Idaho to find it.
Great.
And it
Well, now
really-
Idaho comes to us. It's
Well,
going to be here sooner than later, right?
You do bend reality.
Yes. I have to.
Yeah, Ryan has powers.
I don't know about that, but all right. So I'm very happy to welcome Days Defile to the Massachusetts market. We're just going to get it here now. So we'll talk a little bit about that later, how we get that done and what you guys can do about that and help us out there. Now we're going to talk about stuff that Harold sold to Adam under the law for Lost Lantern. And this is where Lost Lantern, I think, is just brilliant in doing like basically a independent bottler here in the United States, because, you know, this is another like road to hoe that you have, is explaining to people what exactly you're doing, going to all these places and bringing stuff here. And it's really cool because you guys have already brought stuff here that, like, I have people that are looking for like certain distilleries and they're not here yet. Or they're not coming out here. Or they're not coming out here soon. Or they don't have the capacity. But all of a sudden we get like a nice little taste of like of stuff that we necessarily wouldn't get into Massachusetts. All of a sudden shows up underneath the Lost Lantern
Yeah, and I think that's what's
marquee, you know?
Yeah, and that's what I love about what we do as an independent bottler. And I think a lot of you have been to some of the tastings that we've done before, or have been to our tasting room. So I'll keep the basics short. But Lost Lantern is an independent bottler modeled on the Scottish tradition. Everything that we release is not something we distilled. We're not a distillery. We never will be. We source everything from distilleries around the country, every one of which we've personally visited. And we always say right on the front label exactly where we got it from and help people discover it. And sometimes it's a place that's more well known in one part of the country and less in another part. And sometimes it's a place that is like pretty small and not widely available beyond its home market yet, or just launched relatively recently, or even has closed entirely, like with the Mississippi Mud release that we did. And I was really excited to find Days Defile. But first, I want to ask, had any of you heard of Days Defile before Ryan started talking about this event? And now here we all are tasting it. So that's what we like to do as an independent bottler, is to introduce people to the whiskeys that we're really excited about that people don't necessarily already know about. Like we like what MGP distills. They make great whiskey,
Right.
but there's no reason for us to buy whiskey from MGP and say Lost Lantern MGP. Everybody,
But
in
that's
this
not what
room-
you're about,
Yeah,
right? That's
exactly.
not.
We want to shine a light on the places that people don't know about yet, can't get their hands on, but are doing things that are really distinct and different and push the boundaries of whiskey in some way. And I think I encountered you in probably the most unusual way of any distillery that I've found so far, through a LinkedIn post. But first,
It could be one of those other apps. So that's great. I'm glad it was at least LinkedIn.
may I be excused? I originally was in 2024. I was visiting distilleries in Idaho and Montana, and was sourcing bourbon for a blend that we were working on of whiskeys from across the mountain states, because I think it's a region that is developing a really distinct flavor profile. It's different than anywhere else in the country.
You could say that, you're not just all bottlers though, because I don't want people to misinterpret. You do that,
Yeah.
but you also are blenders.
Yeah.
I mean, you and Nora are blenders too.
Yeah.
And you take different components and put them together and make something completely new.
Exactly. And
Or
often it's-
like you just said, shine a spotlight on a region that has similarities that maybe everybody else doesn't know about yet.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't really know that many bourbons from this part of the country yet, besides for maybe Stranahan's, a couple other places in Colorado. But there really are some distinct features in between them that they share between them, such as usually being pretty high proof. If they're a cask strength, they're being aged in a very dry environment, a pretty high elevation environment, which affects the way some of the so things come off the still in a way that I'm not a chemist and can't explain very well. But just the way that if you're baking cookies, the instructions in the back are slightly different. If you're at high elevation, that's true for distilling too. And I spent a week and a half driving around Montana and Idaho looking specifically for bourbon. I found a Montana bourbon right away. I did not find an Idaho bourbon. I found an Idaho single malt from Warfield Distillery in Sun Valley, which is great. And
We have, I think, a couple bottles, maybe 1 or 2 bottles of that too.
yeah. And then I drove really all across the state. I went up from Boise up to Coeur d'Alene to
Sun Valley.
almost over to Sun Valley and Craters of the Moon, and visited a number of craft distillers around the state that were making whiskey that I thought was not ready for us to showcase either on its own or to blend with, because there are 2,000 craft distilleries in the country. They're working on very different levels,
Right.
and that's okay. Just like you can have a brewery that's world class or a brewery that's for the neighborhood. And I left somewhat frustrated. And about 2 months later, I got a notification pop up on my phone that someone named Harold Joyce, that I'm a second degree connection with, is posting about how he's about to launch his new Idaho bourbon with a 7-year-old age statement and the oldest or the first straight bourbon ever released in Idaho. And a week later, I was going to be in Salt Lake City, about 2 hours from the distillery. So I messaged you. You said, let's have a call, let's talk about it. And we're like, this sounds cool. You're an independent bottler. That's great. We have a lot of things in common, know a lot of similar people because we both ran in New York whiskey world, even though we had never met before. You said, oh, well, we'll talk sometime when you're in New York. And I was like, well, actually, I'm going to be in Park City in 2 weeks, and I could come up and visit if you want. And I don't know how you felt about it at the time, but ultimately you were like, yeah, let's do it.
It was actually the first time I ever publicly spoke about the brand, and I could not describe a more uncomfortable moment because I really didn't. We were so passionate about it. Ron and I were so sensitive about how the marketplace would take it. And this was the first opportunity. I mean, it's not like we didn't know who you were. I mean, I was a fan of Lost Lantern before we got labeling. It was just so exciting to have a U.S. version of what Lost Lantern was doing. And to have you interested in it made us so excited, because how do we tell the consumer that this is a legitimate liquid? You know, to the core consumer, to the people like you in the audience that are like the serious fans of it, that are incredulous to anything that's new on the market for all the right reasons, that are pugilistic in the questions that they will ask. You know, how do we transcend all those obstacles? And to us, hearing that Lost Lantern would come to visit our distillery to see if they liked what they were drinking out of our barrels, we're like, that is the badge of approval that we want. That is the thing that will put us beyond. You can't question the quality of our liquid. You may not like it, but as Jim McEwen, I think, told, I think it was Paul Packel, he says, you can't tell me that it's no good. You can just tell me you don't like it.
That's right. And it's true. And by the way, you know, and I know you're not going to say this, but so I will, is, well, here's the thing is, you're right. It sort of gives it legitimacy, but you're going to hit, it's sort of paving the way. Like if he puts it in states that you're not looking to get to for like, let's say a couple of years or whatever, and all of a sudden they have some, then now it goes, you ever heard of Days Defile? Well, yeah, I actually had a Lost Lantern barreling of it, a bottling of it. And now that like, it's sort of like, oh, you've heard of it. Like getting the word to people that don't know sooner than you're ready to be there. There's value to that too. And that's what a good independent bottler should do is it's bringing things that people wouldn't ordinarily see or ordinarily find or ordinarily get to their table.
For small craft distillers, I think there is no better seal of approval than Lost Lantern.
Well, thank you.
Yes, I agree with you. So you'll get no arguments from me.
And that's why for us, it's really important that when we decide what distilleries to work with, that we don't ever want to cherry pick barrels from a place where they have a few barrels that are good, but the whiskey itself, like their core flagship, if we don't like that,
yeah,
we generally don't want to do it because everybody has a couple of good barrels.
Well, here's the other part. Well, here's the other part of that. Like we have a sort of a similar philosophy when we do like single barrels. Mm-hmm. The single barrel is for us is like we're doing single barrels. Single barrel is supposed to be a spotlight on the brand. It's supposed to say, I'm doing a single barrel so that you'll be interested in the brand. I'm not going to take the rest of the brand off the shelf so you can have the single barrel. The single barrel sits with the rest of the product that's there. Yeah. Because now you go like, well, I like that. So why wouldn't I like this? Or why wouldn't I like that? And that's really what it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be something like that's singular, even though the barrel is the single barrel. It's supposed to be something that actually gets you interested in the entire lineup. And if the entire lineup, other than that single barrel, is not good, then it's going to be a short-lived experience here. Because once that barrel's gone, then everything's gone.
Yeah, and
it dissipates.
And we're putting a distillery's name on our label, and that means that we stand behind them. And if that means that if we don't like their whiskey and think they're jerks, then why am I going to go out and talk about how great?
In this case, it was just the whiskey
just
that
like
was
the
good,
whiskey,
right?
I understand.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so let's dive in because the first Lost Lantern expression we're going to try is the 8-year-old.
Yes, the 8-year-old. Okay. So I visited. We had a good time. Tasted some great whiskey. Showed me all around the place. Told me to come fly fishing next time, which I'm extremely scared to do because I've never done it before. And ultimately, after we came back, we had you send us some samples and picked some barrels. And we did 3 different ones: an 8-year-old bourbon, a 10-year-old bourbon, and a Triticale whiskey. So the 8-year-old bourbon is first. These are all single casks. This is hazmat. It is it's only 75.9% ABV.
Only.
Somebody said to me that day, "Why are they so low?" And I go, "Oh, that's not proof.
That's percent.
That's percent. Oh, that makes a difference." I'm like, "Why are they so low?" And I'm thinking, I'm going, "What do you mean?"
This is one of the barrels that before we figured out that we should irrigate them.
Yeah, but it's like at that high concentration, right? I mean, there's some great flavors going on in here. Like there's a depth to this whiskey. Now, we're going to talk about this, and you guys, listen, it's your whiskey. You do whatever the hell you want, right? But I am going to tell you is that at this proof or at this ABV, this is about as much as you can drink without anesthetizing your mouth. Maybe. So I always say, look at these things as whiskey concentrates. You're going to add some water. I'm not asking you to add tap water. I'm asking you to add like a good water, like we're using. We're using Icelandic.
Fine Icelandic glacier
Yeah.
water, pH 8.4 natural spring water from Iceland.
Thank you very much for that. That plug. I really appreciate that. Kenny Sadowski, thanks you. But you got to add a little bit because you're going to want to play with it. Like I said, a lot of times I'll end up drinking like cast strength whiskey at like $1.10, somewhere in there. That would take a lot of water on this. So I just bring it down a little bit. I don't think this, by the way, I'm going to point this out. It really didn't have any, like I tried it on its own. It really didn't have any sharp edges, which is a little unusual at 75% alcohol. It really didn't have any, but it doesn't matter how it's perceived. There's no changing the actual chemistry that will happen in your mouth. So you will anesthetize it. So put a little water. You tried it first. Okay. Try a little bit of it. That's great. Now put some water in, then try it again. And you're going to see an explosion of other flavors that are going to show up that weren't present in your first sip.
And I think that's really part of the fun of it, is seeing how the whiskey changes as you
Mhm.
add little bits of water to it, and it really becomes a completely different whiskey.
Yeah.
And there are still some old school whiskey people who are like die hard on like 80 proof or 86 is the exact right proof, especially in Scotland. And
Right.
because that's where the flavors perfectly integrate. And I like cast strength. We tend to default to cast strength, but it's because you can add as much water as you want.
That's right. Yes. What's the mash bill on this one? It's the same, right? It's the 60.
It's slightly different. So I think so. Of the set that we got, all the barrels that we looked at has slightly different mash bills by a percent or two, and I assume that's because they were relatively on the early side of what you were making when you were
Yeah,
still
just trying to
camping around.
figure out what.
Because you're talking about 8 years old. You really only have 10s right now as your oldest, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
What's that?
it does.
Yes,
So
it does.
This is 74% corn, 6% wheat, 6% triticale, and 14% malt. And
I like that you're
can't
using a
remember-
higher percentage of malt. I mean, that people don't realize how much that makes a difference.
It also corrects for mistakes.
Right. But it gives it that creaminess too. It'll give it a little. And I think, but when you add the water, I think you get some of that creaminess now.
And the way I've been talking about the triticale, both with the bourbons and then with the triticale whiskey, is to me being a hybrid of rye and wheat. I feel like it adds the best of both worlds, the spiciness of rye and the softness of wheat. I actually really love wheat whiskey.
It gives it a different
and,
mouthfeel.
Yeah. And I love the texture of it. And does that ring true to you?
I know it's not as messy to distill from as rye.
That's
Yeah,
my
right.
big-
I said you don't have to worry about the foam overs and all that stuff, right? Does it react that way? It reacts more like when you're distilling, it acts
A
more
little
like
bit more like wheat.
wheat.
What else is triticale used for?
Feed.
Feed.
A lot of for animal feed.
There was somebody else I remembered that did a triticale. It
It
had a fly.
dry fly one.
Dry fly.
Dry fly.
Thank you.
It's the only one I've
I've ever seen. I've
Yeah.
ever tried, actually.
Yeah, and that's kind of
Other than
interesting to
this
me
one.
because they're both from basically the same part of the country. Like
Mhm.
Spokane is not that far from Western Idaho.
No, if you're going to
Yeah.
Coeur d'Alene, it's actually easier to fly in there.
Yeah, as I learned.
Well, here's the important part. What do you guys think? You like that? I like that. There's some really good flavors in that. It's a very complete whiskey. Now, did you add water to it? Now that I asked? Okay, good.
Did anyone refuse to add water?
Yeah, who refused? Oh no.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Security,
I see it die hard right there. There's one right in there.
because he's got
And he's
3
got
more
an
to go,
Arsenal
and I
hat.
know what's
Oh,
going to
he's-
happen.
He's an
you know?
Arsenal fan.
That's right.
He's the one.
Should we move on to
Are you guys? Yeah, but are you guys like? Are you like pleasantly surprised? And like, because I really trying it straight, I didn't get like blown away. I know that I can't physically drink that whiskey for a long period of time, like at that strength, and expect to have any taste in my mouth. But it really surprised me because it didn't drink that high.
No, I mean none of the tannins are killing your
Yeah.
mouthfeel.
That was really good.
Which
All
I,
right.
I think is interesting. It has a good amount of oak extraction, but not a crazy amount.
Yeah, it's not like sucking a church pew.
And there are some bourbons from the South where like if they're 7 or 8 years old, they start to be like,
Yep.
it is like
The tannic.
like
They get that
notes
tannic.
of church
Yep.
pew
Yep.
and
Yeah, on a good Sunday afternoon.
And I actually don't really know this because I've been to Idaho a couple times now, but you've spent a lot more time out there. Does Idaho get, what's the like seasonal variation in temperature like? Is it really hot in the summer and really cold in the winter, or is that just like up in the mountains?
It does not get super hot. It
Okay.
does get very cold, but it is a diurnal climate.
Okay.
So the fluctuation of temperature from day to night is pretty extreme.
Yeah, big jump, temperature jumps.
Yeah. But I also think that, I mean, this is just me guessing. I'm sure Scott Probert, our head distiller, would kill me for even trying to talk about this. But I have to imagine that you're not going to get that crazy, some of those southern distilleries you're talking about getting, like the Church Pew,
Yeah.
might have something to do with the weather.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more of the 10. I mean, excuse me, the 10, the last one. He spilled a little bit. I want him to make sure he can drink some.
Yeah, I sat down and immediately spilled one.
Yeah, I
which
know.
is-
Yeah, there's always one in a
Which
crisp.
is what happens when you have a 4-month-old.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I get it. No, listen, the sleep deprivation. I
I'm just
understand.
preparing for all the things that he's going to spill.
That's
once we
right.
can
You
move.
gotta, you gotta move quicker though. You gotta move a little quicker.
Um, and
All
then-
right. So this is gonna be something. Has anybody else had triticale before? Like straight? Anybody?
I almost did it
I see a
again.
couple hands. Yeah. Great. This one or another one? Both. Okay. And, what's the percentage on
It is 80% triticale and 20% malted barley. The great thing is I don't have to remember the mash bills anymore because we just put them on the label.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
It makes it easier.
And this is a release that we did for our Discovery Club. And this is the first time that we've ever done any of our Discovery Club inventory through a store. It's normally only through our membership club, but we figured for this event, it was a good reason to bring it here.
Thank
and
you. We
really
appreciate that.
do the full story. And we released this in February in our Discovery Club. First Triticale whiskey we've ever done. Can't imagine we're going to do a ton more unless they're also from you because there aren't that many
Yeah,
out
We
there.
don't have
Yeah,
many
period.
barrels of it left.
And this really is the pure form of it. The
All
softness
right.
of the
Does
wheat.
anybody on the nose get copper? Does anybody on the nose get copper? Not like, I don't want to mean that like, oh, I'm smelling metal, right? But there's like a hint of copper on it. That's real. It's actually intriguing. No, not really like a still. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say pennies either. No, but there is copper there.
What did you do as a child?
I know.
Church pews and pennies.
Listen, let's go through the entire litany of flavor profiles: Grandma's attic, baby vomit, tarnish, sealing wax, copper shampoo. Oh, that's a new one.
Never
Polish,
chasing after an ice
shoe
cream. man.
polish, and then my favorite, cat pee.
So
It's real. It does. One of my favorite though is circus peanut.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
someone on our team tasted a whiskey recently and said, this tastes like sadness, but in a good way.
Melancholy.
And I didn't know what to
Need a
think
good,
of that.
and yeah,
Smash it like-
melancholy and the infinite sadness, right?
Do you need a personal day?
Is there something we should know? Yeah. What's that? Rapa? No, I'm not getting rocket fuel.
So this one is a little lower proof. This is only 72.1%, so 144. And we debated when something is
Like
this,
stone fruit on the finish on that
Yeah.
though. Do you guys get stone fruit? Like a apricot or something?
it's super fruity to me.
Yeah.
And like a little nutty. Not circus peanuts, regular
No,
peanuts.
regular peanuts. All right, I'm adding a little water to this because I know there's a lot more flavors than I'm not getting yet.
So you obviously have a little bit of Triticale whiskey, and obviously that's not going.
They have
into
a shot for that
bourbon.
now, you know.
What are your plans for the other barrels that you have? Are you going to do like a limited
Wow.
release or anything like that, or just kind of let us slowly buy all the barrels of it over time?
We didn't know when we sold you the barrels. We still don't know right
Okay.
now. But we imagine that there will be a partner that appears in the future that it makes sense to combine these flavors with something else that they're
Mhm.
doing.
Is his
The-
name Ryan Maloney? That's what they want to know. Man, there's a lot more going on there. Did anybody else add the water to it? There's a lot
Yeah.
more. There's a lot more going. I almost get like I'm almost getting like a winey quality.
Mhm.
Not you, Harold, but like table wine type things.
You look like me. The only way you get anything.
That's right. Do you guys get that? I do.
I think it's like very toasty. Like I get like a
Mm.
honey nut cereal note
Honey
from
nut
it that I
cereal,
really like. I think it's without adding water, it's quite grain forward, which I
Right.
think was interesting because it's an unusual grain.
Right.
But I think the water.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to describe Trinelli until I actually had it. Right.
I mean, it's like a cola syrup.
All right. What do you guys think?
Mm.
Really cool, right?
Anybody ever have a triticale before?
Yeah, there's a couple of people. How's this stack up? It's the best triticale you've ever had, isn't it? What's that?
I like exponents.
And it's not a very widely grown grain in general, right?
In Idaho, it's
It is. It
not
has
quite
to be,
well.
right? Because it's for feed. It like the main use is for feed, and there is a
would
lot of
Google it, but
livestock.
You told me to turn off my phone, but I think that
Don't
it is
listen to
owned
him.
by General.
This is the
Mills.
first time he's ever listened to me. Trust me.
I didn't turn.
It's the second time he went 90 proof.
90 proof.
That's it. It's the
It was.
second time.
You did get the second bottle.
I got
Ever.
that. The bottle actually that you're trying of Days Defile is actually my bottle, right?
Yeah.
That was the first bottle that showed up in Massachusetts that he brought.
It was the
specifically.
second bottle I ever shared with anyone.
Yeah.
The first bottle went to Fred Minnick.
Oh,
We see where your priorities. are.
oh.
I mean, that's just what the drive was from Idaho.
Oh,
back.
okay. Uh-huh. All right.
I went through Louisville,
All right. I'll let it pass this time.
and then I had to pour out some at the Baumberger Distillery in Pennsylvania,
There you go.
and then there was you.
Third on the list. Did you hear
Yeah,
that?
disgraceful.
There-
This
It
event
wasn't
is
even a
over.
person at Baumberger.
Terrible.
It's just an open field,
The ground is more important than me, obviously.
hallowed ground, residential.
I love when
And-
they still try to still explain himself.
Right. It's just
That's
digging
the best.
himself
That's
deeper.
All right, now
I'm sweating, and it's not the hazmat.
now we're gonna try. Now this is gonna be some of your oldest whiskey that you have, right?
It was, and you know, Adam was kind of sensitive to getting these barrels and whether or not we really wanted to part with them. But from your enthusiasm, and Nora, it was just we couldn't say no, so we did. We said yes.
So, yeah, and I think yeah, but again, I'm gonna point this out. He puts out a 10-year-old, and now you've intrigued everybody even more. Like because he's gonna hit it, one barrel with him is gonna hit a lot more people than one barrel with you, maybe in Idaho.
In your tasting room that you're not allowed to have.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's also a good way of showing like, okay, here's what we're capable. Here's a single barrel that we're capable. We have 10-year-old whiskey, and this is a component in our regular, our flagship bottling. So just so you know what you're getting, and that's sort of cool, right? And this is real hazmat.
And I also think a 10-year-old bourbon from a place like Idaho makes a statement that
Right.
it's not like
We didn't
here's
start
our
this
bourbon
last
that's-
week.
It's 9 months old.
Right.
Or it's 2 years in small barrels. It's like 10 years old is a serious age statement and a serious time commitment. And many states in the country do not have a bourbon that old yet.
Right.
So I think the fact that you and your team were able to hold some back for this long says something about your commitment to really doing something very serious with Idaho bourbon.
All right. So because I know Lisa's going to ask me in 2 seconds, what is the mash bill and what is the ABV?
This is 76% corn, 11% triticale. I've been saying it triticale for weeks, so I keep almost doing that.
It's Italian. It's
Our
triticale.
distributor just our distributor
Triticale.
called me and asked, "Can I just call it Trit?" Because I can
Yeah,
remember that.
there you go.
And and 13% malted barley. So 76 corn, 11% trit, 13 malted barley. And it is 77.2% ABV.
Why that low?
Yeah, I know.
Are
Um,
they going to make all of them that low?
The year I was born.
so you can wash this down with some Bacardi 151, something.
That's right. They don't even
weaker
sell
than
that, but they don't even sell that anymore. They get out of that gig because it was too dangerous.
Mm.
They don't smell that one though. Just take that one. Don't smell it yet. Thank you, sir.
So certainly,
So what do you
it's
get
the
on the
first
notes?
ever 10-year-old bourbon from Idaho.
First ever 10-year-old bourbon from Idaho. You guys are trying this tonight? All right. That's a lot of flavor packed in a very small sip.
Yeah.
It's fruity, right? It is fruity, but man, you can tell that's dangerous. I sip that the wrong way and I'll be coughing for like an hour. You know, that goes down the wrong pipe and you're dead, man. I don't care who you are. I've gotten caught like, you know, just regular whiskey all of a sudden like hits you the wrong way and you're like, oh, and you go down. But that one will send you in the ambulance on that one.
You got to be prepared for it, but I still think it has. I like hazmat. I think it's controversial sometimes, whether it's especially among industry people is like, is this the best proof for something? But I like you said, it's whiskey concentrate,
Right.
and I think
And
that
then I mean, put the water in it.
flavor is really concentrated too, and that
Right.
that can be a really good thing. And then you can add water and bring it out more, but it's also fine to drink it neat in a Glencairn at this strength.
Just remember when we pick barrels and we do stuff like with whiskey and stuff, and we're doing things, we'll actually add up to 50% water to the whiskey because we want to see if there's any flaws in the whiskey. And the only way to do that is to take the alcohol completely out of the question.
That's what I'm doing.
Right. Because you have to get the alcohol out so you can see if there's anything wrong with the whiskey going through. So, you know, we're used to doing that. But if I mean, you cannot not add water to this and all of a sudden notice a huge difference in flavor profile and all the other flavors that just sort of came out of that you'd never tasted when you first tried that. I mean, it's amazing.
I also think that the 8 and the 10-year-old are very different whiskeys from
They're
each other.
superly different
The
whiskeys.
mash bill is slightly different, but the flavor profiles are really two different worlds.
Right.
And how do you feel about us doing these all at hazmat cast strength, where you studied 90 proof?
Dude, he brought me like 84%
I'm jealous.
whiskey. I mean, seriously, you know, he's
No, I mean, honestly, I'm jealous that, you know, you can showcase it this way. And I hope to one day get to an inventory where without thought, you can just say, hey, we poured this out of the barrel. We're giving it to you. It's on our label. This is our vision. But
you only did 3. I don't want to say only, but it's 3 barrels. That's it. That's not like, you know, like him raiding your inventory and saying, I'm going to blend a bunch of stuff up and I need 20 barrels of this and all that stuff. It's like 3 barrels to showcase what you're doing.
it might as well felt like he was taking a quarter
your
of our.
baby. Yeah. I thought I was going to get you out of that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you've been waiting for 10 years.
10 years.
And this age, and then someone else comes and is like, can I have that?
And you want to say no, but how we feel about Lost Lantern, I thought it was very difficult.
What do you guys think of this, though? Right? I'm just curious, though. I'm sort of curious. The 8 or the 10? 8. 8. 10. All right. Curious.
Triticale?
Triticale. I like that one too. I like that. I think it was really cool.
What about the 90?
No, that's I'm gonna buy that every day. That's my every day. That's the flagship. That's the one that's inside the box that's balanced that I'm gonna drink more of. And this is the other part you and I were talking about this. Like the hazmat and the stuff that like hits on the fringes are awesome to try, and it's nice to have a bottle, but you're not drinking it every day. You can't.
Right.
It's too extreme. They're extremes. And at the end of the day, the whiskey if you guys really sit down and go, the whiskey you drink the most is the whiskey that's balanced. So this is the flagship is something that like, oh, I'm gonna have a drink tonight. I'm gonna do that. That's what I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna have a couple of those. I can't do that with these. They're sort of neat to go, hey, you want to like somebody comes over, you want to try something? This is really cool. And it's something that like there's not he only got a barrel of it. I'm only gonna get a bottle of it. So it's not like something I'm just gonna spray all over the room or something like that. I'm gonna be like, oh, you want to try something? Here, try this. And it's sort of neat that you have a glass of it and you talk about it, but the stuff that you're gonna do every day is gonna be something like that.
These are effectively a showcase
Mhm.
of this.
Right. It's like these are components that make sort of this up.
Yeah, you're not going to bring this on a fly fishing trip or
You couldn't get it on the airplane, even your
No,
checked luggage.
Unless you ran out of gas.
Let's-
People ask me what hazmat means sometimes when they come to our tasting room, and if I'm feeling cheeky, I'm like, it means that it is literally a bomb. So, so don't bring it on a plane.
Don't
that
bring it
you're
on a plane.
flying on.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, I think of the hazmat movement as having an analog to 20 years ago with stuff that was super heavily peated, or
Mhm.
15 years ago,
Right.
stuff that was super heavily peated. The people that it appealed to were the most hardcore of fans, the real genuine fans of whiskey. And, their ability to discover in other flavor profiles and other styles, they were totally open to those things, but they really got into those heavily peated things.
Yes. It's okay. So here's my problem with hazmat in getting it. I try to balance out the water to the hazmat, and I always fail constantly of getting it exactly where I want it. And then by the time I actually think I have it, where I've drunk too much, because I'm sort of like, oh no, just a little bit want it. Oh, damn, I added too much. I got to drink that one and start again. And it's like this treadmill that I can't sort of get off of until I go to sleep.
Huh.
Ah.
Interesting.
It gets harder and harder to pour the water. It's just really weird. They're really cool. They're super cool. I think I might like the 8. In the scheme of things, I think I might
Mhm.
like the 8.
I really like the 8, and
Yeah.
and
Leather tobacco, yeah. And sort of like not harsher, but more bolder flavors. It is a bolder whiskey, definitely.
And we,
All right.
we released all 3 of these in different ways. The Triticale was our Discovery Club. The 8-year-old is a New York and Massachusetts exclusive single cask only at retail. And then the 10-year-old we also did online as part of our spring collection and sold out in about 45 minutes. So I think
Which is super cool.
This is the last place to get it because you've been saving it.
Right. All right. You guys like them? No, there's not. You don't have any left, but I mean, I'm very excited for this to come in on the as the flagship,
I believe it
'Cause I
will
think-
happen soon.
because this is like something that again, this is one of those type of things that I can show a lot of people that always looking for something like new and a little bit different, but in a good way. Yes, Lisa. Right now they have basically, I mean, they're going to do some casts up, but basically right now it's concentration is this.
We're focused on this right now.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the baby. This is the one that they're going to put out there. There's a lot of great whiskey companies that only has like one product, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I mean, just like Jim McEwen will eventually build to a certain inventory where we can start putting age statements on and showing people where it's at different,
Different levels,
Different
and different age.
timelines.
Yeah. A cast, the cast like finishes where you think of doing them as like one off. I think you do batches, wouldn't you?
we will do some of that. It's just that because we're dealing with the control state and our primary customer is Idaho, it's about making sure that you can satisfy all of the state stores. So when we do an experiment, we've got to be pretty sure about it being an experiment that we want to stick with. But it's most certainly
Unless somebody comes along
You either launder it through me or through him
Yeah.
or both first.
or both.
You know, we are so proud of our distribution network and in other aspects of our business. And we do have, 43 states of distribution and really great relationships with those distributors. But we really do want this to be special to Idaho. And to bring it somewhere else, it has to be through advocates like Ryan. This was the first place in my liquor career that I saw somebody that was treating whiskey differently and was getting people passionate about it in a way that was really new. And this is before this room was even built. I
Right.
mean, you would do your tastings up
We
in
had
the eye.
20 people stuck in the room upstairs where we do our whiskey, where we keep all of our whiskey. That's where we started.
And the whiskey a go-go would literally be a train
Upstairs.
all the way around the store,
Store,
and
right.
and it was the most wonderful collection of whiskey advocates that I'd ever met in my life. You could sell right there on site. You could build a brand just by talking to people, and that's inspiring. Those are the people that we want talking about our brand. So when we have people like that in a state, then maybe that's the state that we bring it to.
Great, thank you. And and I gotta say, you guys get a beneficiary of something too. You all have a fifth glass, correct? Harold brought this in. This is a sort of a commemoration of our first visit together to Scotland. What you want to tell them what it is? Because you get the bottle.
And
right
it is a nod to our relationship and some of its beginnings, but Ryan enticed me with a trip to Scotland, and he said, "Hey, listen, can you get me an introduction to Jim McEwen and bring the group to it while I take you to Diageo's castle?" And I sounded like a really good deal.
It's tit for tat. You know what I mean?
But we were the original importers of Port Charlotte when it was introduced to the United States. PC5, I think you got most of it in the United States. It sold out almost instantly.
Right.
It was the first time we ever had an experience of something hitting the warehouse floor and just leaving. And then this was the second release under the Port Charlotte label ever. And it's finished in Madeira, if I remember correctly. I'm pulling that. I think I'm correct on that. It's 6 years old, unchill filtered, no caramel spirit, and there ain't a lot of bottles left of this.
So when was this released?
Like 18 years ago? Like 18 years ago?
Wow.
Right? Something like that, right, Johnny? Yeah.
I'm looking at this and my eyes are much worse than when we went to Scotland. It was distilled in 2001, so it's PC6, and if I can do addition, it's 2007.
Wow.
Yep.
So yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that puts a date on around when we met.
Well, we met too.
So it might be 20 years now because we met about a year before that.
I want to thank you for sharing this with us, and thank you for sharing all of these with us. And here's to friends who drink whiskey, new ones, old ones, but just keep the liquid coming. Here, here. What do you think? I'm pretty good, right?
I mean, this
That's
is,
really great.
I think it's, God, I'm forgetting how many parts per million.
Oh, he was pumping it up there too. So like, I mean, you lose some in
It was not
distillation,
octomore.
but it
It
was
was
not
not
octomore.
octomore
It
level.
wasn't like crazy, but it was up there.
This is great.
I want to thank you guys for coming tonight. All the way from Vermont,
Yep.
which can be as tricky to get here as coming from Idaho. But I want to thank you for coming, showing the great stuff, showing us again what you're doing different as Lost Lantern. I'm going to give you just a little bit of cue. There's some really cool stuff coming from Lost Lantern. Pay attention. Pay attention. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you, Harold. It's always great seeing you, my good friend. All right. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Let me just take us offline. Everybody that's watching us online, thank you so much for doing this. You can go to It's the Liquor Talking on Facebook, or you can actually go It's the Liquor Talking, on YouTube is really where you want to go. In case you're having trouble sleeping at night, this is a great cure for that. I'm glad you joined us online, but you really should have been here because it was awesome.